CSS, a style sheet language, plays an indispensable role in defining the look and structuring the layout of documents written in HTML or XML. In this exploration of CSS, we delve into syntax, selectors, and properties, laying the groundwork for a deeper analysis of the @font face rule. This rule allows us to define our own font family by embedding a font from a URL, propelling creativity while fostering a unique user experience. Cascading Style Sheets, CSS, is a powerful tool used by web developers and designers to control the look and presentation of HTML documents. It's a stylistic language that works in unison with HTML, determining the colors, layout, fonts, and other visual aspects of a web page. In essence, while HTML provides the structure of a web page, CSS adorns it with styles and aesthetics. A CSS rule set consists of a selector and a declaration block. The selector is the HTML element you want to style. The declaration block contains one or more declarations separated by a semicolon. Each declaration includes a CSS property and a value, separated by a colon. The typical syntax for a CSS rule is selector, property, value. For example, to style all the paragraph text on a web page to the color red, you would use the following CSS rule. P. Color, red. A common use for CSS is to import font families from an external URL. This can be done in several steps. There are numerous online sources that offer free and paid fonts. Google Fonts is a popular source for free fonts. Visit the font page, select the font style and weight you want, then click Select this font. To include a font family from a URL in a CSS file, you use the @import rule, which should be placed at the very top of the CSS file. Copy the URL given by the font distributor. It's generally presented once you select a font. The syntax is @import URL, font URL semicolon. For instance, to add the font family Roboto from Google Fonts, your CSS file should start with @import URL, https://fonts.googleapis.com/css2?family = Roboto. After importing the font, apply it to elements on your web page by using the font family property in your CSS declarations. Body, font family, Roboto, sans serif. Remember to include a fallback font such as sans serif or serif in case the Google font fails to load or if the user's browser doesn't support it. In this context, Roboto is the primary font, while sans serif serves as the fallback font. With this knowledge, you can start integrating various font families from external sources into your website, improving the visual aesthetics and user experience. CSS is a powerful stylistic tool that helps shape the internet world as we know it, offering endless customizable options in layout, design, and style. The @font face rule in CSS is a powerful tool that enables you to leverage custom fonts on your website. This rule should be implemented in the style sheet of your website. To successfully define font family, you use a block of CSS code in the format @font face. This recognizes and defines the font, giving it a name, the font family, and points to the file source, the src attribute, where the browser can locate and load it. In order to define a custom font, place your @font face declaration at the top of your CSS file. To do so, you can use the following basic format. @font face, font family, your font name, src, URL, your font file. In this case, your font name is a placeholder for the name you'd like to assign to the font, and your font file is the URL where the font file is located. After defining the custom font family, you can use it like any other font available in CSS. Call it by using font family in the way you would normally, and the browser will know to access the file you defined earlier. For example, body, font family, your font name, fallback font, sans serif. In this case, fallback font refers to explicitly defined fonts to use in case the browser cannot display or locate your custom font. A good practice is to always include a generic font family as a final fallback. The URL source, your font file, points to the location of the font file you want to use. It must be defined with the src attribute within your @font face rule. These URLs can be absolute or relative paths. If the font file is located on a different server, ensure that the server permits cross-origin resource sharing, CORS. This is necessary because some browsers reject font files served from different origins. Remember to ensure that the font file types are compatible with all the browsers that you are looking to support. Commonly used formats include WOFF, WOFF2, TTF, and OTF. Finally, it's important to note that while the @font face rule opens up new possibilities for web typography, it should be implemented responsibly to respect font licensing and ensure optimal performance for your site's users. Font family in CSS is used to specify the typeface that will be used in the rendering of text. The font family property should hold several font names as a fallback system. If the browser does not support the first font, it tries the next font, and so on. To use a custom font from a URL, you need to use the @font face rule in CSS. This allows you to specify a name for the font and the source where the font file is located. The URL to the font file specified in the @font face rule must be accessible for the custom font to load. Next, you will use the specified name of the font as a value of the font family property in your CSS rules where you want to apply the custom font. This may be within a class, ID, or HTML element. To practice incorporating font families from URLs, an online platform like CodePen or JSFiddle can be used. These platforms supply an environment where you can write HTML and CSS in separate sections, and see a live preview of the incorporated code. Imagine you found a font online that you want to use, and have access to the URL of the font file. Here is how you could apply it to your web page with CSS. @font face, font family, my custom font, src, URL, https://example.com/fonts/myfont. WOFF2, format WOFF2, URL, https://example.com/fonts/myfont. WOFF, format WOFF, H1, font family, my custom font, sans serif. In this example, my custom font is an arbitrary name that you've given the font face for reference in your CSS. The browser will try to use the myfont.woff2 file first, and if it can't, it will fall back to myfont.woff. If neither of these works, the browser will use a generic sans serif font. By applying these instructions, you can incorporate any font family from a URL into your website. Make sure to always have a generic fallback font specified for broader compatibility. Try with different HTML elements, IDs and classes in the online editors. This hands-on practice will help you get a clear understanding of how to include font family from a URL in CSS. As we wrap up this exploration, keep in mind that to truly embrace and comprehend CSS, hands-on practice is vital. Online resources offer HTML and CSS editors that are valuable for fine-tuning your skills and becoming proficient in CSS practices. Bringing together knowledge and application will ensure that your understanding of the @font face rule and font family embedding from a URL is not only theoretical but can be effortlessly applied in real-world scenarios. Dive into these resources, experiment with different fonts, and observe how they shift the dynamics of your web pages. Remember, your digital canvas awaits your artistic input.